eye open.
Okay.
Until I get a little more proficient with being a producer as well. It's going to take a few years. All right. Let's see. And welcome to the program. My name is Justin Clark. Thank you for tuning in to another edition of Behind the Law with me, Justin Clark and Allie Mack. 321-282-1055. Give us a call. Any legal question that you may have will be answered. 321-282-1055. The website, www.youhavepower.com. During the week, we focus mostly on bankruptcy, IRS problems, real estate, personal injury, and even your student loan debt. But for the purposes of today, you can call us for anything. Allie Mack is here. Hi, Allie Mack. Happy Monday. How are you?
I'm doing great. Happy Monday.
First Monday. Did we do a show last Monday?
We did.
Oh. I guess I'm just in a
Time
more
flies.
terrible mood this Monday than last
So we're
Monday.
a week into this.
I don't remember being miserable last week.
Something
about,
to now.
I mean, it's very cliche. Mondays are terrible, but last night, the 6-month-old baby was coughing, not sleeping, so just one of those tired Monday mornings.
I hear ya.
We've all
I
been
hear
there,
ya.
right?
Yeah. Husband's up all night.
And joining me, as always, is my good friend and Orlando radio legend, Mick Dolan. Mick, how are you, sir?
I'm wonderful.
Good to see you.
Good to be here.
I know. The second week of the Daily Show. You can interact with us many different ways. You can listen to the program Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. on Bud 94.1. You can watch the show live on Facebook or any social media platform at ATTY Justin Clark. You can watch the TV show Sunday mornings at 10 a.m. on Central Florida's 27. And feel free to ask any question that you have. You can directly ask us through Facebook. Just go to the Facebook site at ATTY Justin Clark, and we will answer them. The beautiful Brianna is behind the scenes pushing buttons and showing us what questions we may need to answer on the program. 321-282-1055. Special guest in the studio today. His name is Dr. Rollan Roberts. He's the CEO of a company called Courageous. What's going on, man? Thank you for being here. How are you today?
My pleasure. It's great to be with you.
So you got to help us understand a little bit about, I think I have the general idea of what you do. You're out there helping, you're coaching individuals, coaching businesses on improvement and trying to make their lives better, trying to increase their businesses. But give us a little better idea of what you guys do over at Courageous.
Sure. So everything we do is around serving entrepreneurs, and we do it in a number of ways. We do it through radio, and we do it through a CEO cruise that we host for entrepreneurs. We do it through, it's not just the information and educating. We like to focus on execution. So the companies that bring us in and bring me in, it truly is to turn them around or to launch a global or international product or to enter new markets. So it's all things entrepreneurship. But one of the things I always love is taking the person that has never started a business before and they're wanting to, it's a startup, and they're scared to death and they don't know where to start and they've been putting it off for months or even years. And so that's kind of what we focus on at Courageous, is just serving entrepreneurs wherever they are.
But you're not one of these fly-by-night, I'm going to coach you up kind of guys. I mean, your history is very impressive, obviously. You were the CEO. Is it CEO? I guess of Hoverboard. We've all heard of Hoverboard, right?
Right. I still see them every now and then.
How in the world do you get thrown into that position?
I got the job offer over Twitter because of
No,
really? But here's the thing, and this is what entrepreneurs don't understand. In 2010, I took my last dime to pay for a conference. I thought, okay, I'm tired of speaking at everybody else's conferences. I'm going to hold my own. And I got the speakers. I rented the arena, and I thought we're going to crush it again. And what I did not know is it was going to require absolutely everything I had. 3 days before, I had another $20,000 expense come up, and I had to decide, do I not go with it, or do I actually invest the money? And I didn't have any more money to invest in it, so I literally sold my Jaguar 3 days before the conference to be able to pull it off and make sure that I did it with everything it required. Well, nothing good happened from that conference for me, except for some of the recordings that were on YouTube. 4 years later, the inventor of the hoverboard saw it. And he reached out and he said, this is exactly our problem. I've got 33 inventions. I don't know which one to focus on. I need you to help. And so that's how it all started. I literally became the CEO of the hoverboard company because of a lost leader 5 years before.
Unbelievable.
You never know where it's
Well,
Well, it's about obedience. For me, it's just, you're not, none of us are brilliant enough to craft something like that. It is about doing what you're supposed to do, what you're supposed to take in that next step, like what this radio program is for you and your firm. It's about taking the right next step, and you just don't know.
I mean, what is some advice? I mean, one piece of advice you can always give to a business owner is spend less money, make more, right? I mean, that seems pretty self-explanatory. But what other types of advice and coaching can you give to business owners to help get to that next level?
There's such a diverse mindset among entrepreneurs and business owners, but there's only two ways to grow your company. It is to increase the amount per sale or to increase the number of customers, and preferably both. So increasing that price point, the point of sale, and then also increasing the number. The biggest problem most entrepreneurs have, though, is not their business, and it may not even be their strategy. It's usually something that's happening personally in their life. So the problem is they can't focus when they're in the office. They ramrod things when they would have been a lot calmer if things were better at home, or if they had better relationships, or if they actually slept last night, or they actually were taking care of themselves in a certain way. A lot of decision making that gets them into hot water and need to call you could be avoided to some degree if they took better care of themselves personally.
So let's say that I'm watching this program, listening to you right now, and I'm actually working for someone else. I'm an employee of someone else, but I'm really thinking about making that next step and starting my own business. Are there certain characteristics and personality traits that you look for? I mean, how do you help someone make that decision? Like, I've been working for the same person for 10 years. I want to start my own thing. Should I or should I not?
Yeah, you absolutely should. You absolutely should. Look, the strongest, safest place to be today in this economy is an entrepreneur. 30 years ago, entrepreneurship was code for unemployed. I mean, or independent contractor, it just means you couldn't get hired anywhere. And today, we're the rock stars. I mean, you're the Elon Musks, you're the Mark Cubans, you're the Steve Jobs. You're the one up on that lion riding that beast that everyone else is scared to freaking death to do. You're up there riding that thing, hanging on for dear life, and it is that kind of a ride. But there's not a certain personality type that is guaranteed to win. What I find with entrepreneurs is it's what's in them that counts. It's way more important that they are doing something that they are called to do, and something that they are gifted to do. So many people, when they're looking to start a business, they see what's making money. Well, that's good. It's a place to start, but it's a really poor place because it may not be for you. I know whenever we do like Shark Tank or Entrepreneur Pitch Fest, where they're trying to raise funds, and they do their pitches, the problem is they keep talking about their widgets and their product and their service, and I would take an average product and make it a home run. It all depends on the person. It's like, that's a great idea, you're just not the person to execute that.
We're talking to Dr. Rollan Roberts. He's the CEO of Courageous. I know you have the CEO cruise coming up soon. What is that all about?
So a few years ago, same thing. I was at the King of Spain, and the Menorca group brought over the top 20 startup companies in the world, and we were there advising them. And so that experience really gave me a new insight into the way I like to build relationship. And business growth is way more about relationship than it is about standing up in front of somebody for 60 seconds or 2 minutes and pitching your business. And so what I wanted to do was, instead of going to another corporate conference, which will bring tears to the eyes of a pilgrim sometimes, how boring these things are, and I'm the speaker and I'm bored, and so instead of hosting another one or doing another one, I wanted to change the rules of the game and start saying, it's not even a seminar at sea, but I wanted to host 3-day, 2-night conferences where we built relationship. We facilitate relationship with people that you would never have the ability to meet otherwise. These are people who you cannot hire. And if you did, it'd be $20,000, $30,000 a day for them to spend with you. I get them, and it's not even like a conference where they usher them in the back, backstage, get up and speak, and then run out the back, and they're on a plane somewhere. We have them captive on a boat for 3 days, 2 nights, and you're eating with them, you're walking in the hallway with them, and you're not in a suit. There's no you're in your swimsuit. You're not going to impress anybody. You're certainly not going to bring your resume and talk about all your accolades, because some of the guests are people like the man who invented the McDonald's Happy Meal. He launched the breakfast menu for McDonald's. I mean, and it seemed like a really bad decision at the time. And of course, as you know, they serve it 24 hours a day now.
So I have this, you see that wall back there? I know if you're listening on Bud 94.1, you can't see the wall, but I have this wall, and it's fully painted to be like a whiteboard, right? So that's a dry erase board, the whole wall. On that board, it has my 2018 personal goals, because at the end of the year, I like to really visualize what I want to do for the next year. And one of them says, read more books on leadership. I mean, I own a law firm, I own other businesses too, where I just wonder sometimes if I'm lacking leadership skills when it comes to running with all these employees, but I don't know what to do. I don't even know what books to begin with. What advice do you have when it comes to really improving your leadership ability when you're the leader of a company?
Yeah, well, it's a never-ending process, I can tell you that. And most people fail to learn, most people fail to invest in that. And there's always going to be books, obviously all of the Maxwell books are great on leadership, but what I like to focus on is really it's going to become your associations. You end up, it's caught more than taught. Leadership, from my perspective, really is caught. It's what you, who you associate with. And association breeds assimilation. You start to become like those people. You start to think like it. So that's one of the reasons why I started CEO Huddles, CEOhuddles.com, was because as a CEO, and this was whenever I was at the Hoverboard company, I needed other CEOs that I could be vulnerable with, authentic, transparent, that understood what the challenges of running a company with thousands of employees or what have you. And when I was 24, I was a senior executive at a Fortune 500 company, had 1,500 employees. I did not know what I was doing. My leadership style was much better than it was at the previous companies because how I started off was focusing on results. And guess what kind of a leader you have? If all you are results oriented, you're going to end up with a hammer for a leader. And I had a mentor one time that pulled me aside and he said, hey, when you're a hammer, everything looks like a nail. We got to change that.
We are talking with Dr. Rollan Roberts, CEO of Courageous. He is a business advisor. He's the one that if you're a business owner might be able to help take you to the next level. And it makes me think about stress. And any of us who are business owners, you own a small business, run a big business, no matter what it is, you know what stress comes with that. How do you deal with that stress as a business owner? On the other side of this break. My name is Justin Clark, Behind the Law on Bud 94.1.
You gotta crack the whip.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the leadership strategy.
There you go. Sometimes.
Hire someone to crack the whip.
Well, yeah, know when to do it. Wouldn't you say that? I mean, it's gotta be a balance.
There is.
But you have to really, say, hey, this needs to be done.
But you know what? Leadership is not just making the hard decision. That's what people think. People are watching, and leadership can be quiet as well. And so everyone,
lead by example.
Everyone thinks it's the dictator, and it's really there are times where you have to be very vocal. The question is, are you hiding? As a leader, are you hiding, or do you confront and face the hard questions? That's leadership. Yeah. And your staff knows if you're putting off the hard decisions. They know if you're kicking the can down the road. They know if you're a pansy. And then they're not going to have respect, and you're not their leader. You may have the title and the position, but you don't lead.
All right, you ready?
Watch that water.
And welcome back to the program. Justin Clark here with you on another edition of Behind the Law. We've got Allie Mack joining us today. Orlando radio legend Mick Dolan is here. We're talking to our special guest, Dr. Rollan Roberts. He's the CEO of Courageous. And he's the one, if you're a business owner, you really are trying to figure out a way to take that business to the next level, reach out to Dr. Roberts. How do they find more information about you?
They can go to courageousexperience.com because it takes a lot of courage to do what we do and start businesses, run businesses, grow businesses, and so we help them be very courageous.
And with that, with a growing business comes stress. There's no doubt about it. Anyone who's ever started a business knows what kind of hours you put into it, what kind of stress you feel as payroll comes around and there's not a lot of money in the bank. I mean, these are real things that happen with essentially every business. I've seen so many friends as business owners be on the top of the mountain and then a year later just completely in the bottom of the barrel. It happens. No matter how successful you think someone really is or that facade even that they put out, I've seen them hit rock bottom too. And with that comes stress. I mean, how do you advise business owners to deal with this stress?
Well, I like how you said, how do they deal with it? Because if they try to avoid it, that's just a recipe for disaster. The goal in life is not to avoid stress. It is how to deal and manage and let stress work for you. It's actually a good mechanism for you to know how things are moving forward and when you're in over your head and when you need to adjust and correct course. But 3 weeks ago, a local company in Central Florida, they're doing a couple $1 million a year. They had 60-some employees. They had a $40,000 payroll coming up on Friday. On Wednesday, they had less than $1,000 in the bank. And then on Thursday, literally, people weren't going to get paid for the previous week. And I mean, it was a disaster. And then when they brought me in, I found out that had been happening the last 2 weeks as well. This was the third week in a row where they barely were able to pull something out of their hat to be able to pay people. And so something had to change. You know, they had to correct course. Well, can you imagine the state that this entrepreneur was in whenever I found him? You know, with that kind of stress and pressure, living with that every day, in fact, you start to feel like a fraud.
It will kill you.
Yeah, it was. And it was very, very clear. And so after we made some corrections, literally 48 hours later, I noticed some things, some very concerning things with the entrepreneur. And I remember I was texting him late at night even and asking him to do certain things and spend time with his family and go take 2 days at the beach and, you know, different things. But it's different for different people. Whenever I was running the hoverboard company, you know, one of the biggest stress relievers for me is flying planes and riding horses. There's not a whole lot, and swimming. I love to swim laps for my fitness regimen. And those three things are how my body is able to channel stress and really use it to help me create and get better ideas and to become a better leader. Because the problem is when people try to eliminate it as opposed to use it, that is fuel that you're either dumping out or you are using to go further.
Dr. Roberts, for the entrepreneurs or for the soon-to-be entrepreneurs that want to join one of your workshops or classes, do you offer any of them in the Orlando area, or is it
We
something
do.
that-
We serve entrepreneurs in so many ways, especially like in Orlando. We're doing an entrepreneur workshop. I've done it for the city of Orlando, has brought me in to do it for the community at large. And then we have one coming up on Saturday, September 22nd. And that's hosted and sponsored by the National Down Syndrome Association and the Down Syndrome Association of Central Florida, their Entrepreneur Academy. And so we just serve entrepreneurs and help them start businesses, grow businesses. I've got curriculum. The other thing that I have that people has really helped a lot of people is a program called the 90-Day Race. And if you go to 90dayrace.com, you'll be able to see more about that. But that is the program that a lot of companies have used to achieve massive results. And the concept is this. I didn't invent it. I recognized it and then started using it, and no one else had really taught it and shared it. But it didn't matter if, like for example, I went on a 90-day race in 1998 and ended up with several $1 million in real estate in an 18-month period because of a 90-day race that I did. Well, I was 18 years old, you know, so and I didn't have a dime, literally a dime to start with. And then, you know, I did a 90-day race in 2005 and ended up losing 75 pounds over the next 2 years. So from a fitness perspective, I used it to start companies. I did it to turn companies around. And by about 2009, I started recognizing what I was doing each time that created the success. And it truly was the 90-day race. So I started helping Olympic athletes. I started helping other companies. I started helping individuals. Whatever was the impossible goal that they were trying to achieve, we were going to do a 90-day race to help them get there. I've seen people go from having literally less than 5 people in their company to making over $100,000 a month, netting to them personally over $100,000 a month in a 12-month period because of the 90-day race. Nobody has ever become ultra successful without doing a 90-day race.
Any idea how to best coach a business owner on how to use their time?
Oh man, time management.
Time management.
Yeah, here we go. You know,
We all
well, first
have
of all,
that
can I ask the entrepreneur to not use those words?
Of course.
Yeah,
How should we describe it?
Energy management.
Okay.
Energy management.
All right.
Because I could care less about the time, because what happens is you start to divide up your day by minutes. And it's more important, the energy management. So you need to know, obviously, when you're most productive. You need to know what time of day you're able to get the most done. And there's certain type of work that you need to do during that. And then you have your slower times where you're in meetings. But you need to plan your day that way, as opposed to just letting whatever happens on the calendar. It's not enough that it's on the calendar. Is it strategic? So there are certain times when I will meet with people, and I will not meet with people outside of those times. A, because I won't be giving them the best of me, and B, and part of that is because I will know that I have a bunch of other work that needs to be done, and so I'm not going to be fully present because I'm thinking about that. So I get certain things done in the morning. I have a morning routine that doesn't change, doesn't budge. I don't have breakfast with people. I have a set routine. And then I go into my day with how that looks. So it really is about managing your energy, not managing your time.
What about lunches? So you just said you don't have breakfast, and I like that. I don't like to really meet people for breakfast either. Sometimes, in fact, I normally try to say no to lunch, and it seems like as business owners we have to meet other business owners, other people, or people we want to refer business to, and lunch comes up quite a bit. They say, oh, you got to eat anyway. I'm like, well, not necessarily, pal.
Yeah, you obviously don't have an entrepreneur.
Right. I mean, what do you think about that? Do you think that's a good use of time for a business owner to have these working lunches with people?
Usually not.
Okay.
Usually not. And part of it's because, but it also depends on what stage the business is in. So when I was CEO of the Hoverboard company, I can't answer that question the same way I would if I was starting a business. Very different time, energy management, approach to it. But what I will say is my personal philosophy now and where I am in life and where my business is, I do not accept lunches and very, very, very few dinners. And part of that's because of different priorities in my life, because I've screwed up the priorities before and gotten them out of whack. And so I create margin. I intentionally keep margin in my life. And the other thing is this: dining is very special. People, we have it as a casual thing, but who you break bread with really can change your psyche. Like, you bond over meals. That's why people want to take you to lunch. That's why they want dinners with you, because you will bond. It's kind of like if I eat with somebody, you take dates out to eat because you're hoping to bond. If you travel with somebody, you know that bond is going to get much deeper. So that's the strategy behind it. I just want to be intentional about who I'm forming those bonds with, because it's going to determine and influence my success. The other thing is I have a very specific eating routine, and they may not want to be a part of that. Once again, energy management.
Yeah.
I'm up for breakfast, I'm up for lunch, I'm up for dinner.
But Allie, you know what I do? I always do.
That's the key.
I always give an alternative to say, hey, how about coffee? Let's just meet for coffee. Here's the other thing. I can meet with you for coffee for 20 or 30 minutes. I can't do lunch with you for 20 or 30 minutes. It's always like an hour and a half. So it really is back to energy management.
And that is Dr. Rollan Roberts, CEO of Courageous. He's teaching us about energy management, not time management. I really like how you say that too. It makes all the sense in the world. But then when you talk about time management, you talk about stress, people often tell me that, look, man, you got to take a vacation, right? I mean, what is your feeling on taking vacations?
Oh, they are critical, but not the way most people take them. We bring in an employee mentality to it. And by the way, employees really are entrepreneurs. They don't understand that. They're independent contractors. They can fire their employer any day they want to. The employer can fire them most any day they want to as well. But you're an independent contractor. So vacations are important and critical. But how I found to best manage my energy in using vacations to do that was to take smaller vacations more frequently. The concept of and of course, every a year or a couple of years, taking an extended vacation is important. But to just maintain that energy throughout the year. Most people have highs and lows and ups and downs from a productivity perspective. And I want to maintain a high level of energy and productivity throughout the year. And so what I do is I take 3-day, 2-night vacations at least every 2 months, if not once a month. But I always take that and I go somewhere or do something. I love cruising. The key here, Justin, is a pattern disrupt. What you're doing in that is, and that's the key to success. When Tony Romo was having some bad games, the way to snap him out of that was to disrupt his pattern. You've got to get them out of their element, whether it's an entrepreneur, an athlete, anyone that's a high achiever. And so vacations, many vacations will do that.
Many vacations.
I'm on board. I am all up for that.
So I have a lot of friends, clients who are.
When do we start?
Commercial pilots, right? And they will all tell me it's a stressful gig when we're in the air, but as soon as I touch down, get off that plane, I don't think about it again until I head back to the airport in 3 or 4 days. Unfortunately, my life is just the opposite of that.
Yes.
It is constantly on my mind, 24 hours a day. From the moment I wake up till the moment I'm able to close my eyes, I'm always thinking law firm, thinking work. And I don't know how to decompress. I don't really know how to compartmentalize. Even if I go on a vacation, it's like always on my brain. Is there a way that you can coach your clients up on and sort of decompressing? Yeah,
and I think that's not going to change. If you are in the hot seat, if you are the owner and the entrepreneur, it's going to be on your mind. The difference is, the goal is to dial it down a little bit. It usually takes me a day or two to be able to dial it down, which is why 3 days, 2 nights is kind of important, because I really only get the last day or day and a half. But it's enough. It's something to break that. is critical. But you said the right word. The right word is decompress, not necessarily vacation. And so you really have to find what is it for you that helps you decompress. And it's different for so many people. You know, one of the things I like to do, I mean, maybe it's walking around Disney Springs, maybe it's listening to live music, maybe it's, you know, going to sporting events. There's a lot of different ways. For me, and I think for a lot of entrepreneurs, when you start studying the traits of highly successful entrepreneurs, they do have a lot of consistent tendencies, and it's usually to engage in some kind of high-risk behavior, such as scuba diving or flying or, you know, riding horses. You know, anything that can kill us, we're up for. So, starting a business.
And do you find a lot of business owners dealing with stress by turning to booze?
Oh, of course. You know, alcohol. The two biggest are alcohol and sex, in drugs, obviously. But I can tell you this: what you run to, regardless of your perspective and opinion on alcohol, the most successful people in the world understand the dangers involved in it, and especially when it comes to a business. One of the reasons I don't drink is forget faith, forget what you want to do, forget all of that. I wanted to be able to think clearly at 1 a.m., you know, that like I would at 1 p.m. And of course, I'm gonna be a little foggy from being sleepy probably, but I've gotten the calls in the middle of the night where I have to answer questions and I've got to help somebody through a crisis. I can't afford, and as leaders, we are supposed to hold ourselves to a higher standard. Mm-hmm. So it's not a matter of right or wrong or good or bad, it's a matter of better and best. Can you? Sure. But what kind of leadership, what kind of standards are you setting? And even if you can control it, you may have employees and staff that can't. And guess what they're doing when they're on a business trip representing Justin Clark and they get wasted? You know, that's not exactly what you want, you know, carrying the banner for your company.
As a business owner, how often are you expected to respond to your customer or client's emails? That's right on the other side of this break. Justin Clark, Behind the Law, Bud 94.1.
I don't know about you, but after a glass of wine, I am fine as.
Well, yeah.
Ask me anything. Ask me anything, and I can tell you.
And then after 2 bottles?
Funny
No,
story.
one glass.
I worked at a
After 2
station.
bottles, find me in the hospital.
Yeah, I worked at a station a while back, and the sales manager was, and she was a snake. I mean, she was, but she was smart. She would have a drink at cocktail parties, but of course it was non-alcoholic. So everybody else is trash, and she's the one that gets the sale. You see?
Really, I see. That's sneaky.
Each to
Smart
his own.
sneaky work.
Yeah, but it worked.
Yeah.
So we got 2 more segments ahead. Anything I'm missing in particular you wanted me to hit on? Anything you want?
You're
Stories.
Oh, yeah.
Still
Turn
stories.
around. Most fascinating story.
Do you want to invite people to your CEO cruise?
Yeah,
Do
that'd
you
be
want to
great.
kind of push
Yeah.
that like towards the end? So
That'd be
we can-
great.
Your next one's coming up really soon, isn't it?
Right, isn't it?
It's actually, no, it's the 90-day race, but it's going to be in every Walmart, Costco, Target, and BJ's Wholesale Club in August of 2019. Yeah.
Is the cruise affordable for entrepreneurs?
$49 per person
Oh,
for the 3-day 2-night because we subsidize it, and
Wow.
you got to pay for the port fees, taxes, and gratuities, which are $80 or $90 per person. So it works out to right now to $149 per person.
I'm going to ask you that.
All in.
So-
Okay.
All right, you ready?
Have you ever heard of Peter Lowe? The Get Motivated Success seminars.
Okay.
Always book
I
arenas,
feel like I've heard of it.
U.S.
yeah.
presidents and all that.
Yeah.
I brought him in on the
Oh,
CEO
yeah?
cruise as well. Yeah, so
Awesome.
that's down there.
Yeah, we'll hit on that. And welcome home.
Must turn on.
Producer?
Producer sucks.
Must turn the switch.
And welcome back to the program, another half hour. Behind the Law with Justin Clark and Howie Mack. We have Orlando radio legend Mick Dolan here as well. Any questions you may have, 321-282-1055. Plenty of information on the website, www.youhavepower.com. It's our second week of the daily Behind the Law radio program right here on Bud 94.1. You can watch the show live on Facebook. Ask us any questions you want whatsoever on Facebook as well. We will address them here on the show. And watch the program 10 a.m. Sunday morning, Central Florida's 27. Again, Justin Clark, Behind the Law, 321-282-1055. Talking to a good friend of the program, Dr. Rollan Roberts. He's the CEO of Courageous. Right before the break, we asked the question, and I've been seeing more people sending me automated email responses saying, I will check my email between 5 a.m. and 7 a.m. or 9 and 10 p.m. or whatever it is, so I don't expect an immediate reply. But email is like another just in our face way that we have to respond to people, whether it's our employees, our customers, our clients. I mean, what do you think a business owner, when it comes to that energy usage, how often should they respond to emails?
Yeah, that's certainly a frustrating component of business today. And why are we even still using email? Like, there's 1,000 better ways to communicate, but we do. And so one of the things I would say is I know all of the old time management gurus do talk about having certain times to respond to email. And I think that works depending on your business. Sometimes though, those are your leads, and so those inboxes have to be monitored, especially if you're a small shop. But what I can say when it comes to email management is once again, you need to know, is it a distraction for you or is it revenue for you? Because when you are a small business, there is one question, is what you're doing with your energy right now generating revenue? If the answer is no, you probably shouldn't be doing it. If the answer is yes, you should be doing it. So the real question is, what is the highest and best use of my time right now? And if I've answered all the phone calls, and if I've met with everyone I need to talk to, then I'm going to spend some time responding to emails. But there's emails I've put off for days or even weeks because I knew how much energy it was going to take to think through what my response needed to be. And so once again, to manage that energy, I had to postpone that. The question to a time where I was in a non-revenue generating period. If your email does not generate revenue, the last thing you should be doing is spending prime time business hours responding to email.
So when should you?
Your non-prime time hours. So here's the deal. Look.
Drinking there.
He closed, well, yeah, you're right. We just talked about that. He says so. It closes down at 5, and then maybe his email time is from 5 to 6 and responding. Then maybe it's 8 or 9 after the kids go to bed or something, where he's able to, okay, now I can kind of calm down. And here's the other interesting thing. For some people, there's actually a relaxation associated with that. It's kind of cleansing some mental clutter. So instead of reading or whatever, if they're sitting down on the couch at night, in some really, really comfy clothes and their feet propped up and their beverage of choice, then what's going to happen is they're able to just kind of casually respond, and that's not a stressful thing. It's actually relieving and addressing, some of it.
It's not good though if you've got a bunch of idiots that you have to respond to.
Oh, that is true. Yeah.
Knuckleheads.
If you're,
Yeah, right.
well,
it's like, what are you?
It's more stressful.
I don't want to deal with
it
it.
sounds like you're the head of customer service.
Sort of.
So let me ask you this question. So as a business owner, there's this fine line between, and I think of the song "We Are Family," right? We want to go in and talk to our team about, look, this is our work family. You guys are family to me, and you want to be the cool boss in a way too, but then you also have to have the leadership as well. I mean, where do I determine where that line is between friend and boss?
Well, I think it's funny whenever most people refer to their business as a family, and you know what they mean, but really, if you look at most families are so dysfunctional, I don't even know why you want to be part of it.
Yeah.
So, to say our work family, it's like, oh, great, so how messed up is this place? But no, seriously, what they're trying to say is, look, we have a healthy culture. So what you're striving for is not family. What you're striving for is to have a healthy culture. So when you start focusing on what is our culture, and I don't care if you have 2 people in your company, you have a culture. You have a culture of excellence, or you have a culture of just good enough, or even poor. You have a culture of how you treat people, how you talk to people, how you interact with customers, how you respond to people. All of that dictates and comprises your culture. So when you are trying to create that environment, and especially the bond. What creates a bond faster than anything is when you do what you say you're going to do. You don't have to put a label to it. You don't have to name it. What they will say is, I just love being here. I love working for you. I love our friendships that we have here. I love how we treat each other. Everything that you will hear an employee define when they say, why does that seem like family to you? All of it that they use, all the adjectives come down to culture.
So should I act stressed around my work family, so to speak? People will always say, well, you don't want the employees to see you stressed. Don't let them see you sweat. Is that true?
Yeah, it's funny. You hear them be a duck. Just gliding across the walk and or the water and paddling like mad underneath. And but no, I what I value most in leadership, Justin, is authenticity, vulnerability, transparency, being real, being raw. And if you need to be stressed, because it's going to come out one way or the other. You're going to snap at somebody. You're going to be short with somebody. And they're going to be like, he's mad at me. No, he's just having a tough day.
I think you nailed it though. Be real.
Yeah, I like that.
Be
Authentic.
genuine, and don't be one of the. You can always tell, the crocodile
Yeah.
smile.
Yeah.
Where it's got no. This guy is not.
So now I don't trust you because I know that you're willing to fake something.
Yeah.
You're hiding,
Yeah.
and that scares me.
Yeah.
Dr. Rollan Roberts, CEO of Courageous, and I know we have the CEO Cruise coming up. Give us a little more information about the CEO Cruise.
Yeah, hosting it with Peter Lowe, who was the founder of the Get Motivated Success Seminars, had brought over 6 U.S. presidents, Mikhail Gorbachev, Mother Teresa, the Dalai Lama, Larry King, you name it, they graced his stage. And he'll be on the cruise and co-hosting it with me. We have some incredible guests and fascinating people that we bring together that you just get to know. And we have a special for your listeners where if they go to ceocruise.com, we are selling the cabins for $49 with the discount code entrepreneur. So if they go to ceocruise.com, they will literally get a cruise for 2 people for 3 days, 2 nights for $299. And that includes gratuities, includes absolutely everything. It's October 7th through the 9th out of West Palm Beach, going to the Bahamas. And so that's really the best way. And there's nothing like sitting around a pool or a hot tub or a meal and sharing with people of that caliber.
So what kind of listener, what kind of the people who are listening right now would want to come on this cruise?
We had 20-year-old people who were wanting to start a business on the last cruise and just loved them to death. We had over 20 entrepreneurs come from Africa. They flew 36 hours to be on a 3-day, 2-night cruise. And so we had a CEO of a $300 million company on there. So we have everybody from entrepreneurs, people who just hope to start a business one day, to CEOs of large companies.
Dr. Roberts, we have a question from one of our viewers, from Tony. I have a business idea, but because I work 2 full-time jobs, I'm having a hard time getting started. What advice do you have to get over the hump and get started?
That is a fantastic question. I'm really glad you asked it because it brings it back, Justin, to one of the questions you asked. I usually don't advise people to quit their jobs when they're starting a business. They think that that's what they need to do, and it usually ends a disaster because they don't have the skills to be a successful entrepreneur. So it really you're sending people down a dark hole. But what I would say is, if they're 2 part-time jobs or 1 full-time and 1 part-time, if you can replace the part-time income with whatever the business is that you're looking at starting, then that's what I would suggest. But if you're already working 2 jobs, I'm just going to step out on a limb and say your business idea probably does not or should not require a lot of capital. So if you've got this idea that you think is a great business and you need $100,000 or $1 million, that's not for you, and certainly at least not for right now if you're having to work 2 or more jobs. What you need to do is create a business that is low capital, which usually means it's a service business. It's something that you can do. I would much rather mow lawns from 5 p.m. to midnight if I have to, and do a lawn care service or a cleaning company or some type of a service business where I can generate hard cash now and then grow that and take out that part-time job. And people, I hear so many excuses, Justin, it just starts to drive you nuts after a while. If you're going to make excuses, you're not going to succeed in anything you do anyway, certainly not entrepreneurship. But I can hear them saying, yeah, but my schedule changes, I work at this restaurant, so I don't have consistent hours and consistent days, and so I can't really schedule something. And my response is, you're not going to be a successful entrepreneur until you figure out how to get around it. Welcome to entrepreneurship, which is nothing more than this challenge, and the moment you overcome that challenge, it seems like there's another one, and another one, and another one. You get good at overcoming that obstacle. And if you can't even overcome that first one, you're not going to win.
So I hear a lot of interviews with famous musicians or rock bands, people we listen to right here on Bud 94.1, or even famous actors or actresses, and they'll say, oh, okay, so your plan A was acting, but what was that plan B? And they're like, oh, you don't understand. I didn't have a plan B. Is there some of that, we just had to make it work, this was my plan A, B, C, D with this business that goes into entrepreneurship, or do you always need a plan B?
Now, I think there is an element of that for sure, and I know that because if you have a plan B in the back of your mind, you end up there every time. It's kind of like going into marriage thinking that divorce is an option.
Yeah.
I promise you'll end up there at some point, So whatever is the option, you leave that back door open, you'll be going through it sooner rather than later. So from a business owner, you really have to shut the back door and say, look, I'm doing this, and it's going to test you. You may be sleeping in your car. I slept in my car for 2 months when I lost everything. I know what it's like scrounging, trying to find 27 cents to put in the gas tank to get me to a job interview just so I can get back on my feet. You know, I've been lower than most people will ever go, but it's also a price that very few people are willing to pay. They would rather have a moderate level of discomfort and live their life in pain than to sacrifice and pay the price so that you can, you know, live like other people can't. It's kind of like this. You can make the hard decisions and have an easy life, or you can make the easy decisions and have a hard life.
Dr. Rollan Roberts, CEO of Courageous. He did have some down times, but you know he's had some good times too, including being the past CEO of a national company called Hoverboard. I think we should ask him a few more questions about what it was like to run a national company that we've all heard of, and we'll do that in one segment ahead, Behind the Law, Bud 94.1.
And do you own a hoverboard?
I have a
Does it work?
yeah.
Does
I
it
wouldn't
work?
get on one for the first couple months,
Water?
though. I wouldn't get on one. I was
You
running the
will.
company.
I'm good. Thank you.
Just,
That wasn't one of your
Decided not to.
requirements.
Wasn't gonna go.
You have to.
hey, the first time I met it when I flew out there, I'd been traveling for about 16 hours to get there. And so I'm exhausted. My equilibrium's all thrown off. I'm in a 6-hour difference in the time zone. And he's all excited, you know, because I finally get there. And it's 9 or 9:30 their time. And I hadn't eaten. I was just weak. And I'm in a suit. And he's like, oh, you've got to get on one. And I'd never been on one.
Yeah.
So this Chinese man, you know, the inventor, is on one side. I'm holding onto the wall. I'm trying to do this, you know, and I'm going, yeah.
Did you fall?
No, I went from about here to that wall. I was like, let me do this in the morning or
Like,
you
guys,
know,
this
another
is
day.
fantastic. It's great.
Yeah, but you know what you have to understand? That wasn't the goal. There were 33 products. I had to choose a product that I wanted to take to the market. So it's not like it's like, okay, we have this hoverboard. Is there's 33? Which one do we choose? Which one is going to win?
Why did you choose that one over?
Well, there were
Yeah, that's your
there were
worst.
a few reasons. I thought it was a new category, and it is a new category. Segways had been huge before that, but Segways were for the commercial categories. What they finally realized that was the only purpose for them was commercial, and I felt like the hoverboard was a personal transportation, which it was. You know, you don't use those for mall copy. You know, those
Yeah.
for commercial, it's residential kind of
Love
thing.
that movie.
So that was one of the biggest reasons. The other thing is I saw it as an iPhone. It was in the same price point, and I could come out with 2.0, 3.0, 4.0, but we ended up selling the pack. So
All right.
that's why I chose it.
Ready? And welcome back to the show. One more segment ahead of Behind the Law. Bud 94.1. Any question that you have, 321-282-1055. My name is Justin Clark. That is Allie Mack. He is Mick Dolan. And we're talking to a good friend of ours, Dr. Rollan Roberts. He's the CEO of Courageous, but also the former, is it CEO of Hoverboard or what?
That's it.
So how in the world do you go from being here in Central Florida to now running a huge organization called Hoverboard?
Well, it was a very small $4 million organization at the time. I became the chief executive officer, and the inventor had watched one of my videos on YouTube, and he said, this is the problem with our company. I want you to run it. I want you to be the chief executive officer. I'll step aside. We've got to win. And I walked in 33 different inventions and had to choose one to take to the market. We chose the hoverboard, and obviously it became the single hottest global consumer product of 2015. We had over 300 Chinese manufacturers knocking off the product. We were dealing with fires of the knockoffs, but I had to answer for them. You may remember, I woke up with Google alerts every day of we were being banned from this campus and this institution and airplanes and this airline and that airline. And
So the fires were the Chinese knockoffs?
yeah, they weren't
weren't
ours.
yours.
They
Original
weren't
ones?
the patent holder.
Wow. Now, see,
Because
we
they-
didn't know that.
I didn't know that.
Nobody
I
knew.
didn't know that
But you
either.
know what? I made the rounds, MSNBC, Fox Business, all these shows for a couple days. And what I realized really quickly was nobody cared. When I'm sitting there telling them, well, they use half the battery, lithium-ion batteries that we use, and and then you put a 200-pound man on it. Of course, it's going to catch fire and burn up. After 20 minutes of off-road usage. So it was, but nobody cared about the stats, and the batteries weren't the same. And how do I know what's a knockoff versus not? So I ended up once I realized nobody was actually getting injured from that, we didn't have a single lawsuit. I started just kind of using humor and would say, obviously if yours hasn't caught fire, you're not using it to its full potential yet. So there were some specific strategies we used though to deal with the knockoffs, and then same thing with the fires. Samsung, when their phones were banned from the airlines a couple years ago for the same battery issues that we had, I emailed them and just said, emailed the CEO and just said, hey, if you need to talk, I'm here. I've been there.
Commiserate.
What kind of turnaround stories do you have for other companies that you've been shipped in to sort of turn around the business? Any stories about that?
Yeah, so my favorite one was a $250 million manufacturing company. They were 30 years old. They had been declining in revenue for the past 15 years, month after month after month. Now it's amazing that they were still in business after 15 years of losing revenue every month. And it was one of the most difficult turnarounds I've ever done. But literally in their third month using the 90-day race, we had their first growth month in 15 years. And one of the reasons for that was, and this is the mistake that I would say 99.99% of people make when they're trying to turn something around. You can have the right strategy, you can have the right products. The problem is how you do it. And so in this case, it was a company that they had a very loyal customer base. That's why they were in business. But they kept, that was a dying and a dwindling market. And so the only solution was to repurpose some of the products into a different category and a different target market that would, of demographics that would be able to buy, and that was a future growth market. But the problem was the markets that it would do well in, the existing loyal base really had a lot of animosity towards those and wanted nothing to do with them. So you were really in a catch-22, and that's what the previous CEO dealt with and could not come to. He actually died, by the way, literally, because that's what that kind of stress can do to you. And so what I did was a couple of things. I created a brand, rebranded the company, and part of the rebrand was created a separate brand, a segment, a sub-brand for that loyal base. And I made it more of them than the company had ever done before. So what I had to do, and this is the key, was give them an identity. I had to give, when you have a tribe of customers, a tribe of people, you have to give them an identity. Some of them, we were their only identity. They're our products and services. So I gave them identity, and by giving them a stronger identity than they had ever had before, it freed me up to be able to create a different sub-brand, instead of rebranding the whole company, a different sub-brand that would speak directly to the market that I wanted to go. And the other lesson and thing that I did that really blew their mind, that also helped, was only promote the products and services that you want to sell, not the ones they want to buy. So I took off the products I was wanting to phase out, of the products that were loss leaders, the products that we did not, they weren't loss leaders, they were just losses, period. The products that we should not be selling, but people wanted to buy. I made it to where you had to call customer service if we're not discontinuing it. Hey, we're not taking anything away from you, because they start to cry. Everybody just takes from us. No, you can still get it, just call. But I don't want to promote it on the website like I want to still sell it.
That makes perfect sense.
The 90-day race that you speak about, is that something that the entrepreneur can only get when they go to the CEO cruise, or is it something that they can get online on your website?
Yeah, they can get it online right now, 90dayrace.com. There's a booklet that'll take you 34 minutes to read that tells you exactly how to do the 90-day race. And when I use the story, I don't use business turnarounds and I don't use weight loss, because everybody always, they say, well, my body is different and genetics, and you don't understand. In business, well, that's because you're you, and they didn't know me 20 years ago, or they certainly wouldn't say that. But what I use is whenever I ran for the Senate in 2012, and it was such a David versus Goliath. I had no reason to be doing it, running against the incumbent president of the Senate, and I ended up losing that election by 33 votes. But I did it with a 90-day race. I had 90 days for 1 million people to go from never hearing me, and me really being in the state for less than a year, to becoming a household name, and I did it with the 90-day race. So I used that story, which was new for me as well, to share as a catalyst and platform.
So it worked politically for you.
It did.
Political.
Which is why I have worked with congressmen and senators currently today, or governments.
So that's a good strategy then.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
In fact, if you don't understand it, you won't win.
Help me understand it a little bit better then. The 90-day race. Help me have a better understanding of that.
So you can accomplish more by doing concerted effort on a single goal in 90 days than you can with years of mediocre consistency. Most people have an objective that they've had. I want to do this, be this, go accomplish this for years, and they never seem to really get there. And it's because they never went all in, all out, played with everything they have for a 90 days, 7 days a week, all in. And when I say that, it becomes a grind. You're really excited the first week. The second week, some things start to fall apart, but you're still like, okay, I'm doing this. But week 3, you're like, I'm not really seeing the results, but I said I would do this, or I paid a whole bunch of money to do it. And then week 4, it's bottom line, you start to understand the psyche of every single week. And it had, without fail, they all go through this, without fail. I was doing it with a company that has a subscription model, over 100,000 subscribers. And this started happening again exactly the way that we talk about. We have a college basketball team right now that's doing a 90-day race, and I shared it on my social media and so forth. And it's the grind. But here's what I will tell you: this is nothing new. It's what the laws of nature follow with seasons, 90-day seasons, 3 months. It's what the United States takes the most inept, physically not fit, unfit people, and turn them into the best fighting machines on the planet in a 90-day program called boot camp. We in businesses, we manage our businesses according to quarters. There is a system and a fundamental principle that underlines and undergirds why 90 days. The other thing I will tell you is that, they say 21 days to make a habit, but 90 days really is what it takes to create it to where it is consistently ingrained in you. You are subconsciously doing it without even thinking about it.
All right, so I've grown my business. Things are going pretty well. It's still stressful. I'm still here a lot, let's say. At what point do you decide, or how do you make the decision that maybe it's time to sell the business?
Yeah, well, first of all, I think, there's a philosophy of build the business to sell it. And so one of the things that whether you sell it or not, you should build it to sell it. It will help you make better decisions, help you structure it better. You'll take better care of your accounting. And so one of the things that I would say on selling it is you'll know based on your family, based on those around you, based on the market, based on things along those lines, when to sell. We sold the patent for the hoverboard 2 months after we created this single house global consumer product. In some ways, I was actually against. I felt like the timing was wrong because I wanted to come out with a 2.0, 3.0, 4.0. But the personal objectives of the inventor took a different, were different. So you really have to understand yourself. What I will say is, if you're looking to sell a company, one of my close partners is Cardiff Lexington Corporation, and they buy small businesses, they're like a Berkshire Hathaway. They're publicly held. Right. They will buy your business, and they can do fast transactions.
We have one more question from one of our listeners, one of our viewers, from Kara. The CEO Advisory Cruise, politics workshops. What is on the horizon for you?
Oh, I see. So they're just saying you're involved in these different things. What's on the horizon? What's next?
What's next?
I'll tell you what my focus and what my 90-day race is right now is Courageous Entrepreneur Radio. We have a program that has we have a large number of people that follow us on a weekly basis, all entrepreneurs, and it's call-in, same thing, where I'm answering those kind of questions nonstop, except tailored to their business. I'm on right after the Dave Ramsey Show. We just expanded into 6 other states through iHeart and Cumulus and some other sources. So really reaching the entrepreneurs, answering your questions specifically tailored to your business. And I want to hear okay, I'm looking to hire this, or I'm not sure if I need to do this or if I should do that. And you can be anonymous or whatever, but really that's my focus. That and our CEO cruises.
We should be on your show. Why not?
Oh, he
We're
will
available.
And by the way, I have a 90-day plan.
What's yours?
Sleep. That's me.
It's called prison.
Right.
Just
Free
something
meals
really
too.
bad, yes. That is Dr. Rollan Roberts, CEO of Courageous, the former CEO of Hoverboard. More information can be found where, Doc?
CourageousExperience.com. CourageousExperience.com.
We have the CEO cruise coming up. Remind me about that.
Yep, CEOcruise.com. $49 for your cabin plus port fees, tax, and gratuities. $300 basically per person at CEOcruise.com. I'd just love to meet you. Want to sit down and answer your questions. Obviously not over lunch. We talked about that, but
No
you can come on a cruise.
Yeah.
There's plenty of food up there.
You can come on a cruise and we can just visit.
But he will do coffee,
He will
ladies
do
and
coffee,
gentlemen.
so.
We have found
Way
he
too
will
much coffee.
do
That is my advice.
Small coffees only. Because we don't want to stick around too long. Well, thank you so much for being here. First of all, pleasure to meet you.
Likewise.
We're honored to have you here. And my name is Justin Clark. You're listening to Behind the Law every single weekday on Bud 94.1. Watch us on the weekends, 10 a.m. on Central Florida's 27. That's 10 a.m. Sunday, Central Florida's 27. You can watch this show or any past show at ATUTY Justin Clark. Allie Mack, good job today.
Good. It was
Mick
a great
Dolan,
guest.
Thank you.
excellent
Great guest.
work today. And Mick, I don't know much, but I do know one little thing.
What's that?
I will see you right back here tomorrow on Bud 90.41.
Excellent.
So you're
I'm
doing
trying-
the
I'm-
90-day race with me?
Yeah, I'm doing
Sleep.
90-day sleep.
It's called hibernation,
You
Nick.
know, I will tell you this, I actually have a copy out